Hello dear students, this is Raksha Shetty and you're watching Edubassa, your homely learning channel. So in the last video we learned about the nutrition part in the life process chapter of your 10th standard biology. So in that we learned about autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, we learned about photosynthesis process, about the structure of stomata, various activities as well as different types of the heterotrophic nutrition. So today in this video we are going to learn in detail about the nutrition taking place in that of the human beings. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Human alimentary canal. So human alimentary canal, we also call it as human digestive system. Okay, human digestive system. So what do you mean by digestive? What do you mean by digestion in the first place? So digestion is nothing but it is the breakdown of the complex food particles into that of the simpler food particles. Okay, so that is said to be what? Digestion. So the food is important, right, for this. So why the food is important? We have already explained: for the purpose of energy, for the purpose of growth, for the purpose of repairing. See, some of the the climatic changes will be taking place in the environment. So that climatic changes which results in the damage in the body of the organism, so it has to be repaired eventually. So in order to repair this, what is important? The food is important for the purpose of energy in order to undergo the repairing process. Okay, so this human alimentary canal basically it is a long tube. It is a long tube. We also call it as human digestive system. So it is a long tube. Okay, so in that long tube, what is going to take place? Digestion of the food is going to take place, where digestion is nothing but the complex food particles is broken down into the simpler food particles. Okay, so as I mentioned, it is nothing but a long tube where it starts from the mouth and ends till that of the anus. Okay, it is going to start from the mouth and it is going to end till the anus. Yes. So these are the parts of the alimentary canal. First part is mouth. As I told you, it starts from mouth and ends till anus. So let us learn about the middle part as well. So next to the mouth there is esophagus, or simply we call it as food pipe. Okay, simply we call it as food pipe. One second. Okay, simply we call it as what? Food pipe. Yeah, we call it as what? Food pipe. Okay, so next to the esophagus we have stomach. Next to the stomach there is small intestine. Next to that there is large intestine and anus. So we are going to learn in detail about each one of them. Yes. So this is the human alimentary canal diagram. Important. Yes, one second. Yes, important. Okay, so it starts from the mouth. We also call it as buccal cavity. So there is tongue. Okay, so there is the saliva. What is saliva? Saliva, the liquid part that is present in your mouth. When you're speaking, so that protrudes, isn't it? That basically is called as saliva. So it has an enzyme called as salivary amylase. What is the enzyme called? Salivary amylase enzyme. What it does, it helps for the breakdown of the starch into that of the simple sugar. So it helps for the breakdown of the starch into that of the simple sugar. Okay, so the tongue, there is tongue which helps for the mixing up of the food along with that of the saliva, so that proper saliva mixes up with that of the food and proper breakdown of the food is going to take place. Okay, I told you this is nothing but the enzyme. So enzyme is nothing but it is just like the catalyst. Okay, we call it as biocatalyst. You might have learned in your chemistry, right? Catalyst. So it basically fastens the reaction whatever is taking place. So here the reaction that is taking place is breaking down, right? So it helps for the breaking down in a more higher rate. basically. Yes, now the food, whatever the food that is been broken down, the starch into that of the simple sugar by that of the salivary amylase, where it is present, it is present in that of the saliva. So salivary amylase, obviously I told you saliva. So this saliva is produced by a gland called as salivary gland. Okay, what do we call it as? Salivary gland. So this salivary gland secretes the saliva. So this saliva has an enzyme called as salivary amylase enzyme. So this enzyme helps for the breakdown of the starch into that of the simple sugar. Now the broken down food passes through this pipe like structure over here, and we call it as esophagus, or simply we call it as food pipe. Okay, so it is a pipe in the sense it basically transports the food from the mouth to that of the stomach. You can see the part over here, the J-shaped bag like structure, you can see that is called as stomach. Okay, so so the inner lining of this is basically soft. Okay, soft, that's why it has to be broken down and mixed up with that of the saliva so that it can easily pass. And this entire alimentary canal, it is going to undergo a movement called as peristalsis movement. Okay, what is peristalsis movement? I'll explain you. So first we'll move to the next slide. Okay, we already discussed about this part, mouth, we call it as buccal cavity. So the teeth is present. Oh, we forgot about this. Yes, the teeth is also present. Yes, teeth is important. Why? To chew the food. Yeah, in order to break down the food into that of the small particles, this teeth is important. As I explained you, this salivary gland is present in that of the mouth. So this salivary glands secretes the saliva, and this saliva contains amylase enzyme which helps for the breakdown of the starch into that of the sugar, right? And this food that gets mixed with the saliva, right? So that we call it as what? Bolus. We call it as bolus. Then this bolus is swallowed with the help of the esophagus by the peristalsis. I told you peristalsis, peristaltic movement. So what is that? So that is nothing but, so for example, just imagine this is esophagus. Okay, I know poor diagram. One second. So yeah, this is esophagus. Just imagine. So the food is going to come here, right? So this is going to contract, and then the food comes here. Again, this part is going to relax. This part is going to contract. Again, this part is going to relax, this part is going to contract, right? Then again this comes down, this comes down, this part is going to relax, this part is going to contract. So this is going to take place throughout the alimentary canal. Okay, from the small intestine up to there also it is going to take place this peristalsis movement, so that easily the food can pass. Okay, so that the disco dance, basically the disco dance of this what do we call the alimentary canal is basically called as peristalsis movement, so that the easily transport and proper mixing of the food particles is going to take place. For that reason this peristalsis is going to take place. Yes. So next to the the esophagus or the food pipe, there's a part called as stomach. It's a very large muscular organ, and it secretes what? It secretes these three juices, basically HCl, pepsin, as well as mucus. Okay, HCl is present, so pepsin is present, as well as mucus is present. What is the function of the HCl? This HCl, hydrochloric acid. You might think hydrochloric acid, ma'am, hydrochloric acid is acid, right? It might corrode your stomach. Yes, it does, but there is something in order to protect from the corrosion of it as well. I will explain you and you will learn. So HCl basically kills bacteria. Okay, what it does, it kills the bacteria. So along with that of the food, some bacteria might enter, isn't it? So it kills the bacteria whichever is present in that of the food, and also it creates the acidic medium. Since it is an acid, it creates the acidic medium. So this acidic medium will help this enzyme. So pepsin is basically a enzyme, a biocatalyst. So it will help the enzyme. Okay, So it will help this enzyme. Why? In order to act, this acidic medium is important. For the pepsin to act, this acidic medium is important. So this HCl creates the acidic medium so that the pepsin can act. Okay, pepsin can act and it can digest the proteins easily. So it digests the proteins. The pepsin will digest the proteins in the acidic medium. Okay, now what about the mucus? As I told you earlier, this HCl can corrode the stomach. So in order to prevent it from corroding, this mucus is present, which will protect the inner lining of the stomach. So stomach, if this is the stomach, it has a lining inside, so it will basically protects, this mucus is going to protect the inner lining of the stomach from corroding. And the food is going to mix and the chyme is being formed, because the acidic food, okay, that is called as chyme. Then this chyme is going to transport to the next part. So before that, I'll show you the mucus. So this is the mucus that is secreted in that of the inner lining of the stomach, which helps for what? For the protects from that of the corrosion of that of the HCl. So you can see over here, this is basically the peristaltic movement. It is going to take place in that of the stomach as well. First the food is present here, then it is going to come here, relaxing, again contracting, relaxing. Okay, then through this it is going to enter. So this will next lead to that of the small intestine. This will enter into that of this is a sphincter muscle. So this sphincter muscle is going to sphincter muscle, we call it as what? Sphincter muscle. Okay, so this sphincter muscle is going to send the small amount of food, like eventually, to that of the next part, which is basically the small intestine. Next to that there is small intestine, like this. Okay, yes, fine. Next, as I told you, next to the stomach there is small intestine. I'll show you that part. So you can see over here, next to the stomach, so it will enter into that of the small intestine. It is highly coiled, isn't it? Yes. Okay, once again, yeah, small intestine. So small intestine is a part where complete digestion takes place. Important. So in which part of the digestive system the complete digestion is going to take place? It is going to take place in that of the small intestine. Remember, it is the longest part of the alimentary canal. One of the longest part of the alimentary canal is the small intestine. It's very long. Okay, it is very long, and it receives the secretions from the liver as well as pancreas. So before the small intestine does its function, the liver and pancreas is going to help it. It's best friends. Okay, so the liver and the pancreas is going to help the small intestine before small intestine does work. So just in your case as well, students, so we will help you to clear all of your doubts. Your parents are going to send you to that of the school. They will pay the money to yours, for your education, tuition classes and all of that, isn't it? Your teachers is going to help you to gain knowledge and all of those stuffs. The next work, what you have to do, you have to learn yourself, right? Yes, you have to work hard. Yes, so that exactly is going to take place here as well. First the liver is going to help, the pancreas is going to help, then the small intestine itself does its work. Okay, so that is basically in the case of the small intestine. So the liver and the pancreas, it is going to receive the secretions from that of the liver as well as pancreas, and it is going to digest for a bit, and then the complete digestion is taken place in that of the small intestine itself. Okay, before that, why do we call the small intestine as that of the small intestine? But because it is very long, right? I told you it is the longest part of the canal. Why do we call it as small intestine? Why not we call large intestine as small intestine? Because it is small in the sense it is the shortest, right? Why do we call it like that? That is because of its width. Okay, that is because of the width. So the width is small in the case of the small intestine, hence we call it as a small intestine. Whereas in the case of the large intestine, the width is large, hence we call the large intestine as large intestine. I hope it is clear. Okay, now as I told you, it will receive the secretions from the liver and pancreas. Talking about the liver, so this liver has a gallbladder. What it has? a gland called as gallbladder. So this gallbladder secretes what? A juice called as bile juice. It secretes bile juice. So this bile juice doesn't have any of the enzymes. It doesn't have any of the enzymes, but it is being released in order to make the food alkaline. Whatever the food that is coming out of the stomach is acidic, isn't it? It is acidic, so it has to be made alkaline before the enzymes that is present in the pancreas has to act. So pancreas has got enzymes. Before it has to act, what happens is nothing but so it cannot act when the food is basically acidic, so it has to be made alkaline, it has to be made basic. So that is done by which one? The bile juice. How it is going to make it as a basic? So by what? Emulsification of the fat. So in that acidified food, the large globules of fat is going to be there. Large globules of what? The fat is going to be there. So it breaks down this large globules of fat into the small globules of fat. Okay, it breaks down the large globules of fat into the small globules of fat and makes the food what? Alkaline. Now what happens? Now the pancreas, whichever the enzyme that is present in that of the pancreas, now can easily act. So that is the function of the bile juice. Remember, bile juice doesn't have any of the enzyme. It is present in order to break down the fat and to make the food alkaline, so that pancreas enzymes can easily act. Clear? So now you know the functions of liver. So this bile juice is secreted where? In that of the gallbladder, remember. Yes. So this is the small intestine. Okay, small intestine where the complete digestion is taking place. Yes. Next, about the pancreas. So I told you, now the food is made alkaline so that the pancreatic enzymes can act. So these pancreatic enzymes are trypsin, lipase, as well as amylase enzyme. Okay, so this trypsin, it converts protein into that of the amino acid, breakdowns the protein into that of the amino acid. The lipase converts fat into fatty acids and glycerol, and the amylase converts starch into that of the sugar. Clear? So this is the function of the pancreatic enzymes. Trypsin breaks down the protein to amino acid, lipase fat to fatty acids and glycerol, amylase starch to that of the simple sugar. Understood? Clear? Yes. Next work is about the intestinal juice. What the intestinal juice does? Intestinal juice has got intestinal enzymes, so it undergoes the complete, whatever the left behind proteins, carbs and the fats, whatever is left, it is completely digested into that of the amino acid, fatty acids and glycerol and sugar. So that is going to take place in that of the intestine. Okay, now the complete digestion has been taken place, right? Before that, so this is the pancreas, this is the gallbladder, this is the liver, this is the liver, this is the gallbladder. You can see over here, this is the pancreas. Okay, these both are the friends of small intestine. Okay, yes. Okay, so the pancreas is present over here, you can see, right, about that of the stomach. This is this is liver. Okay, this is liver that is present, and this is pancreas. Yes. Next, the food has been completely digested. Now what is left behind? The digested food is left behind. Now this digested food cannot go to that of the large intestine and go outside. If it is getting out, then whatever that has been taken place in the alimentary canal will be completely waste. So it has to go to the different parts of the body, that is to that of the different cells. Why? In order to undergo the respiration process. Am I right? For the purpose of energy. So now this digested food, it has to go to the different parts of the body. How it is going to go to the different parts of the body? So the small intestine has a finger-like outgrowths like this. Okay, thousands of finger-like outgrowths like this. So this finger-like outgrowths is called as what? Villi. What do we call it as? Villi. Why this villi is important? Because it increases the surface area for the absorption of the digested food. Surface area increase in the sense, just imagine I am going to draw a line. Just imagine this is around 2 centimeter. Okay, if I draw a line like this, it will be more, isn't it? More than that, 3 centimeter. It will be more. So basically the surface area is more where here, right? So the same way, this villi, the intestine, if it is only present, it will not increase the surface area for the more absorption of the digested food. So this villi is present in order to increase the surface area, so that the more absorption of the digested food is taken place, more energy will be produced. Okay, like that. Okay, so how it is going to transfer to that of the different cell is nothing but this villi has blood vessel. It has what? Blood vessel. What is blood vessel? Blood vessel is nothing but it carries what? The blood. It carries, there are 3 types of blood vessel basically: arteries, veins, as well as capillaries. Okay, which we are going to learn further: arteries, veins, and capillaries. So this arteries, veins, and capillaries, basically what it does is nothing but it carries blood. Okay, so this blood vessel will be present over here, right? So this blood vessel will carry the food particles along with that of the blood to the different cells of the body. Okay, whatever the food is being absorbed, it will carry to the different parts of the body. Why? For the purpose of energy, for the purpose of growth, as well as repairing, right? Yes, I'll show you once again. Yeah, so this is villi. Okay, this is villi, thousands of finger-like outgrowths which increases the surface area. This is villi. So these are the blood vessels. You can see over here the blood vessels. So it carries what? The absorbed food to that of the different parts of the body, different cells, for the purpose of energy, growth, and repairing. Next is about the last part, which is basically last in the sense, yes, last part, large intestine. Now the digested food has been went to the different parts of the body. What about the large intestine? What is the function of the large intestine? Along with the digested food, there is some of the food which is not digested, undigested food, that is not required for our body, and it has to be eventually removed from our body. So what it happens is nothing but this undigested food will move to that of the large intestine. There, from the undigested food, whatever the extra water is there, that is been absorbed by the large intestine, some salts and all is absorbed by that of the large intestine. And what happens? This undigested food will be stored in that of the rectum, and then it is eventually removed out through the anus with the help of the sphincter muscle. Okay, sphincter muscle, that is basically anal sphincter. Okay, we call it as anal sphincter. So with the help of that, it is going to be eventually removed out. That is nothing but the fecus. Okay, the egestion will be going to take place with the help of the that is basically the waste product, that is basically fecus. So it is the function of the large intestine. You can see over here, small intestine will be there here, connected here. Okay, here from the stomach, the small intestine will be there, it is connected here. Small intestine, what villi will be there, through the villi it is going to go to the different parts of the body, the digested food. Now the undigested food will come here, through this it will pass, all of the water and all will be removed, all of the salts will be removed, it is stored here. This part is called as rectum. Okay, then it is eventually removed out through this part, and this we call it as anus, through the sphincter muscle. Okay, suddenly it will not come out, isn't it? So it is going to come out, amount by amount. So that is done by the anal sphincter. Okay, controlled releasing. Exactly, yes. Okay, yeah. Now there is one activity which shows the action of the saliva on that of the starch. The saliva has got an enzyme called as salivary amylase, which breaks down the starch into sugar, which we already learned. So there is this experiment to prove it. So what happens is nothing but, to prove this, we are going to take 2 test tubes. Okay, so in both of the test tubes we are taking starch solution. What? Starch solution. Now in the first test tube, we are going to add saliva, fresh saliva from our mouth. To the second one, not adding anything. Just leave it for 20 to 30 minutes. What happens? Obviously the saliva is present. Saliva has which enzyme? Salivary amylase enzyme. So obviously the salivary amylase enzyme is going to break down the starch into simple sugar, right? So now what I am going to do, I am going to add iodine to this test tube as well as this test tube. We have already learned in the previous video that starch, when it mixes with that of the iodine, it gives a dark blue color, if you remember. Yes or no? Yes. Now what happens here, when I add the iodine solution, and here when I add the iodine solution, which one converts into that of the dark blue color? Yes, tell me now. I'll give you a second. Yes, obviously this one, because the starch is intact, right? Here the starch has been broken down into that of the simple sugar with the help of the salivary amylase enzyme, which was present in your saliva. Am I right? So obviously it is not going to give dark blue color because the starch has been broken down. No starch is present here. Here the starch is same as it is, so that's why it is going to give dark blue color. So this is the what do we call the activity. So this is basically when the saliva is not been added here. Here the saliva is being added, so the starch will remain as it is. Here it will give dark blue color. Yes, that's about it, students. So we learned about that, but before that I want to show you one second. So let's learn along with that of the summary. So we are going to learn the summary part. So I'm going to show you with the help of the diagram itself. 1 second. Yes. So first what happens, the food you are going to take in, it has the teeth will be present in that of the mouth. So the teeth helps for the breaking down of the food. The tongue is present, which helps to proper mix the saliva whichever is present with that of the food. So proper breakdown takes place. So the saliva is stored in salivary gland. Saliva has an enzyme called as salivary amylase. So this enzyme is basically a biocatalyst which helps for the breakdown of the food, which increases the rate of breaking down of the food. So the food is been broken down into starch to that of the simple sugar. So now whatever the food that is been broken down will pass through this esophagus, which we also call it as food pipe. So the inner lining is soft, so it has to be made soft. The food has to be broken down here itself, so it can easily pass here. So in order to pass, there is it undergoes peristalsis movement. So after it undergoes peristalsis movement, obviously the full alimentary canal is going to undergo peristalsis movement. So now this food will enter into that of the stomach. So stomach secretes the gastric juices, which are they? One is mucus. One is mucus, one is pepsin, and one more is HCl. So HCl, basically what it does, whatever the food that is going to enter into that of the stomach, it will kill the bacteria whichever is present in that of the food, this HCl, because it is an acid. Okay, and what it does, it creates an acidic medium for the pepsin enzyme to act, because pepsin cannot act in the basic environment. So the food has to be made acidic. That is the reason HCl is present. And later this pepsin, obviously it breaks down the proteins whichever is present in that of the food. And this mucus helps for the protection of the HCl. It protects from the corrosion of the HCl. It is present in the inner lining of that of the stomach. Clear? Yes. Next, the food, the acidic food, through that of the sphincter muscle, it is going to enter into that of the small intestine. So before the small intestine acts, it has two friends. One is the liver, one is the pancreas. So before the pancreas enzymes acts, it cannot act because the food is acidic. So the food has to be made alkaline so that the pancreatic enzymes to act. So there is a gallbladder present over here which secretes what? Bile juice. It secretes what? Bile juice. So what this bile juice does is nothing but this bile juice will emulsify the fat and make it alkaline. So it will break down the large globules of fat into the small globules of fat and make it alkaline, and then the pancreatic enzymes can act and it will convert the protein to amino acid and the fat to fatty acids and glycerol, and the carbohydrates to simple sugar, which is that trypsin, pepsin, as well as lipase enzyme. So after that, whatever the intestinal enzymes, whatever is present, intestinal juice, it has got enzymes, so that is going to break down the complete breakdown of the food to amino acid, fatty acids, and glycerol, and to that of the carbohydrates to that of the simple sugar. Complete breakdown taken place. Now the food is being digested. Now the digested food, with the help of the villi, it is going to transport where, to the different parts of the body, wherever whichever the cells requires energy, it is going to pass through there. So how? With the help of the blood vessel. So villi increases the surface area to pass all of these food particles to different parts of the body. Now the undigested food will transfer to that of the small intestine, where whatever the water and the salts are present in that of the food, that will be removed out, and that it will be stored in that of the rectum part, and it will be removed out eventually through the anus with the help of the sphincter. Which sphincter muscle? Anal sphincter muscle. Yes, that's about it. So we learned about that in this video, and yes, that's it, my dear students. So thank you for watching until this. So do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, keep watching, keep learning, and enjoy while learning. See you. Bye bye.